standing up for what is vital and essential for your life as a human being. As our community expands, that expands also. When we were predominantly African Americans coming to Jummah, I could tell you the denial of your freedom, the denial of your justice, the denial of your manhood, but it's not like that anymore. Right? So all of us, from whatever culture we come from, you have a struggle in that culture that's preventing you, that's trying to, whatever it is, could be government, whatever, could be cultural norms, whatever it is, it's a burden on you. And God says, He removed it for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and trust me, he had a burden. And his companions, that society, they were burdened down with many things. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. And rafa'a means to raise up. And they translate this in to raise up your esteem. But it can also be understood. We raised up your thinking, your perception, the way you see the world. There's so much in this, right? Now, the next few verses are beautiful because they're contrast. They're giving you some very beautiful principles. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. It wasn't easy to expand your breast. But once you build those muscles up, doesn't it serve you to be able to breathe? Doesn't it serve you to have a strong breath? It wasn't easy for you to overcome all those things that were burdening you. But now that you've overcome them, isn't it a relief to have them off of you? It wasn't easy to raise up your thinking. Some of you think to how you thought 10 years ago. Or think to how, and I used to say those of you who, I used to say especially those who converted, but nowadays, look, Muslims thinking and doing everything nowadays. So we can't give that caveat anymore. If you were converted or reverted, or if you were born Muslim. Sometimes 10 years ago, your mind was in a bad place. Even if it was just ignorance. And Allah raised it up. Now, watch this beautiful exchange. You've heard it over and over again. But it goes all three ayah. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. This is a reflection showing you, illustrating the example of the previous ayah. With every difficulty comes relief. And this is not independent of the ayat that comes before it. It's having you reflect, understand, and appreciate the principles pointed out in the ayah that comes before it. And Allah says it twice. God doesn't have to say anything twice. But when Allah says something twice in the Quran, He's telling you, pay attention. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Then with every difficulty comes relief. إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Every difficulty comes relief. No, go back and look at it again. You may not be appreciating it. You may not be appreciating Allah taking a group of people who some people considered animals in human skin, called the Arabs, and making them the models for human life in the world with the Quran. And every place the Quran goes, it elevates the consciousness of the people. It elevates the behavior of the people, the lifestyle of the people, and they become models. They become refined. They become excellent. And just like the Quran has done that all around the world, the Quran is also doing that right here in the United States of America. Allahu Akbar. Now I know, Islamophobia. You're going with the campaign. You're letting somebody else frame the conversation for you. You want to see Islamophobia? Go back around 60 years. Go back around 70 years. You'll see some phobia. We're much further now. Every place you go, there's a Muslim, there's somebody with a name. I won't say Muslim name, right? We got to change our perception too. Because you got some people with good sounding names blowing stuff up. Right? So I'm not going to say they have a Muslim name. But just think, I was watching the NFL Network this morning. Yes, it's okay. It's not haram to watch football. Now, I'm not saying once we find out about the brain, I don't know. Once we find out what football does to the brain, I'm serious. We may have to have that conversation about, is it lawful to play it? But I was watching it and I kept hearing Amir Abdullah. I just kept hearing Amir Abdullah. We want to know what Amir Abdullah is going to do. Right? And I forget, I was watching something else. And there's like this Jabril. Right? That's cousin Jabril, right? So listen. Islam is now part of popular culture. So don't buy the narrative so easily. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ وَإِلَى رَبِّكَ فَارْغَبْ. See, فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. This is a very beautiful exchange here. Because it's two very powerful statements. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ. Faragha means to complete something. And immediately, without even a break in the language, as soon as you finish, labor hard. There's not even a word in the language to separate the two. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. Right? فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. Right? You don't even in the language you don't get a break. And when you're reciting it, this is not one of the places you can pause and stop the recitation. You have to continue it on. Very beautiful. Right? And so when you finish, now I know they translate the immediate task, right? Yeah, that's implied, right? As soon as you finish, still labor hard. As soon as you finish, still labor hard. As soon as you finish, still labor hard. Go get any of these gurus out. Go get any of them. John C. Maxwell, Anthony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki. Go get them all and look at what this ayah is telling you. Look at this principle that God is giving you in the Quran for your success as a human being. As soon as you're finished, never be satisfied, brothers and sisters. Never accept that success as the end. Whenever you're finished what you're doing, don't sit around celebrating it. No! Look for the next thing you have to do and go to work immediately. And if you do that, God will give you success. Allahu Akbar. Wa ila rabbika. And then to your Lord, farghab, turn your attention. This is balance. This is how to be a balanced individual. Remember, your heart only rests for a split second between beats. That's how efficient it is. We got to go to sleep for 8 hours. God has made your heart so efficient that in between each beat, it rests long enough that it beats for your whole life. Have we not expanded your breast? The book of God is wonderful indeed. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulih al-Kareem Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een amma ba'd. Dear beloved Muslims, as we conclude, in the spirit of this chapter of the Quran, as many of you are well aware of, we're in the process of building Ibrahim Kamaldeen Community Center to be a beacon of hope and light for this community and to serve the needs of the Muslim, the Christian, the Jewish, and those who haven't chose a path in this neighborhood. It will serve their needs. It is with great pleasure, for those of you who haven't heard yet, Allah blessed us last Friday night to raise in cash and pledges. After we reconciled, remember I told you last time it wasn't audited, we audited it. A total of $102,000. Takbir! Now, let me explain to you how fundraisers go. 32,000 of that was actually collected that night. Okay? It might be 108. So there's still $70,000 still outstanding to be collected. Okay? That's important to know. Because a lot of those were pledges. And some of them will be paid out over the next few years. But it still puts us in a position. We're working with the architect. We want to try to break ground in Black History Month, inshallah. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. Okay, we're finished with that one. On to the next, inshallah. Okay? That's the big picture. But we also have to shore up the day-to-day operations. Okay? So I'm suggesting and recommending that we have to get to the point where we're a fully staffed masjid. We have somebody here. John stays here. He keeps the masjid open for prayer. But we also need a secretary and some other things. Just like any functioning not-for-profit religious organization that you go to that's fully functioning. We have been operating on volunteer status for most of our staff since we opened up. Well, I can't speak for before I came, but I know since I came, which was in 92, for the last 24 years. We have to move beyond that point. And if there's one thing we learned from Barack Obama, a lot of small contributions make a big contribution. Every Friday we have at least 70 or more individuals to come and pray at this masjid. If each of you, to our operating fund, if each of you, every time you come, donate $20, you're going to spend that going to see The Suicide Squad, or whatever that movie's called. This is called a suicide. You're going to spend that tonight at the movies, right? Because once you pay for 2 admissions, buy some popcorn, that's $30, right? And I could give you some arguments against that, right? But enjoy yourself. If each of us 70 people, that when we come once a week, if we donate $20, that's $1,400 a week. That's $5,600 a month for operating expenses. And that's not a big burden on any of us. Now, some of us are going to do $100 a month. Some of you already do